What's up, guys? Welcome to today's devlog. I'll be going over a few different things, an overview of Canton County and how it currently stands. I'm going to go over the 2 new trucks coming this update, as well as give you guys an in-depth look of how I set up the emergencies. So we're going to go from each new area one by one. This corner of the map hasn't really been changed yet, but it will be this weekend. But we'll go over the development. Added lots of new details throughout this whole development, just to make it feel more real. It's not finalized completely, but I would say at least 99% done. This is going to be one of the emergency houses, that's why it's unfinished. But overall, just little details everywhere. Make the world really feel more realistic. Moved to development 2, I did the same thing. Lots of little details. Each house has a few of its own unique props to really make them feel different. As you can see, the road's now finished. Before it was like open-ended. Just little details everywhere. Each structure that there's a fire in is going to have a different layout. I'll be adding more over time, but for starters, that development's going to have 2, this development's going to have 2 main structure fires, and there'll be smaller emergencies throughout. My goal is to have over 50 different emergencies on this map when it's all said and done. And on top of that, with the new fire system, it multiplies. Each emergency can have so many different ways they play out. So for the next area is the nice little campground. Expect lots of little fires, maybe some hazmat incidents here, car fires. Right here, there's going to be a exit and on-ramp for the highway. We'll get into the new prison, completely redesigned and expanded. There are a few buildings I just noticed as I loaded this up that are remnants from the old prison that will be deleted, so if anything looks out of place, it's probably it. So, parking lot, car fires, hazmat incidents, stuff like that there. There'll be a couple cell blocks that you can enter and have emergencies and fires in. This is part of the old prison. I actually didn't notice it until I started recording the devlog. Little rec yard. That's from the old prison, but a little bit redesigned. Considering this like a little guardhouse. It's going to be like a depot for guard stuff, weapons, supplies. Factory inmates can work in. Expect hazmat fires there. So, all kinds of goodies. Just all over the map. I tried to put something in every part of the map to make it not feel empty. So, even during roads and stuff, I'm going to be adding houses and little details. For instance, this new road here. Just a little bit to fill it out. And then this is the building that we're going to set up our emergency in today, later. So, this is from the old industrial area. I only kept like 3 or 4 things from it. Just a little storage facility. Packing plant. Stuff like that. All stuff that kind of goes hand in hand with farming and rural areas. So this was the old industrial area. I added a road here, so direct access instead of having to go all the way around, and just kind of fills it out more. This area hasn't really changed much. Before release this weekend, there'll be new details and houses along here as well. I'm going to be redoing this quite a bit, the original campgrounds. But this is the first half of Canton County that will be finished this weekend. Now, when I mean finish, most of the props will be done and stuff like that. It's going to keep getting new emergencies and stuff over time. Because for the bigger buildings and stuff, it takes me a few hours to actually set up the emergencies and test them out and make sure everything's working correctly. So with that being said, we went over the map. We'll go over the new trucks real quick. So, coming as a new engine and the tiller. Now, originally I was going to add a FDNY style engine. It's still coming, but it had some issues with the mesh, so I had to kind of make a new engine for now. So, new Seagrave style truck. Personally, I'm in love with this. I love the way it looks. But it's already fully set up. The light bars will be changing. I'm going to be adding new light bars and also new patterns soon. If you see any lag, it's because I'm in editor and I'm streaming, so it's using a lot of processes. The mirrors work on this truck too. By the time the update comes out, all the trucks will have mirrors. But be able to turn them on and off. So we'll go over the tiller. So with this thing, as you've seen in the previous devlog, a second player can get in the back and fully operate it. The ladder stick's fully usable. Oops. Right. So I didn't set up the mirrors in this truck yet, but the cab will be getting more details too over time. Handles really well. The handling's not done on it, but I think for what it is right now, it actually does pretty well. So I also updated the textures of the actual landscape. It was supposed to be like kind of summer before, but now I changed it to a bit more spring. So now there's flowers and more color. So added some small details around it. Personally, I think this turned out really good. Bacon did an excellent job with the script and everything for the tiller. Everything works as expected. And I will be testing my staff later today. But it's really pretty. Alright. So the last part of this devlog, I'm going to show you guys how I set up emergencies. Just to give you kind of like an in-depth look of it. So before I do anything in a new area, I gotta establish my fire grid, which this controls all the emergencies in this area. They're kind of like under this grid, so that's how I do. If you look on the CAD, you can see the different grid numbers and stuff. This helps with a couple things. First off, it helps me when I'm debugging stuff or bug reports, because I can narrow down where something is pretty quick. Like if an emergency isn't working and not showing up, I know what grid it's under at least. So anyway, so we got our fire grid for station 2. Next thing I drag out is my emergency controller. I pick an address for the location, which we'll just do 1 Rusty Road. Check fire only. This is kind of like old code. You don't even need this anymore. Smoke not required, because it's a little shed, so we don't really need to vent it out. Should be it. Alright, so next up, under that, we have our emergency room controller, which this controls every room. So since this is only a one-room building, it's going to be pretty easy to set up. So that's also why I chose this one, to kind of demonstrate what I go. But as like, if it's like a more complicated structure with lots of rooms and stuff, it takes a lot longer, as I gotta have all the rooms and stuff interact with each other. So, but anyway, so we have our room. So we set our reference to our main emergency controller. I have different options, so like if this was a hallway, it can branch off to different rooms. I have references for all my fire, smoke, different rooms it can spread to. Room name, so this is going to play a bigger part after part 2 of Fireman update comes out, so I'm not really going to spoil anything with that yet. It has something to do with some new UI coming. So this is a normal room. I don't remember if I went over this too much before in a previous dev blog, but depending on what room is, what kind of emergencies it can have. If it has multiple rooms attached to it, if it has a car attached to it, breakers and COs and CO alarms and stuff, so gas tank. So anyway, next up we'll drag out a fire. Fire's gotta have a reference to the emergency as well. And then we can just drag these out because it's also choose floor because it's on the floor, and that kind of determines what kind of fire effect we get, which I'll be adding more in the future of those as well. They can overlap, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't really matter how many I drag out because the fire system's super optimized networking now and performance wise, so we could probably run like 1,000 fires, to be honest, and probably still have above 60 FPS. So I'll do that. So we'll drag out some of these to add, make them normal fires. Oops. And then we will add some ceiling fire. So this can kind of just go up here. Now all our fire's set. We can add our smoke. Once again, this stuff is kind of super optimized too, so doesn't really matter how much we add. Now I remember when I first started, when I first brought the open world out back in May, I honestly had no idea what I was doing with the open worlds yet, and I just remember how unoptimized it was, how bad the networking was. Like, this game was in a rough shape, but happy it's turning out pretty well. Everything kind of just worked out. And a lot of the networking, you can thank the Bacon because he fixed a lot of things and then showed me the proper way to do a lot of the networking. So our smoke's laid out. This is pretty much it for the interior of this one. I'll add props later, I'm not really worried about that right now. This is just a demonstration. So now that that's done, This is the long part, but I know there are easier ways to do this in Unreal Engine, but we add all our fire actors. Over there. $54. Phew. 120. So the emergency's all set up now. I went through, I added all the smoke, added some details. And then we'll go ahead and try this out now. So this would be polished too, all the little extra stuff, but this is pretty much it. This is how I set up emergencies. As you can see, depending on the structure, it could take an hour or two to just 10 minutes or so. So I'll probably be scaling the structure down too. But there it is. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. This update will be out this weekend, and part 2 and 3 of the Fireman update will be out next month. I have 5 total updates planned for the quarter 1 of this year, and then quarter 2 I already have, I think, 5 more planned. So lots of stuff coming. 10 updates by like May or June. Big updates with lots of content and stuff. So lots of new trucks coming, and polish and refinement. So anyway, thank you and have a good day.